Okay, we're ready to start. I'd like to welcome everyone to Virtual Abilities 2022 International Disability Rights Affirmation Conference, which we also often abbreviate to IDRAC. The conference theme this year is Access to Justice. That's a topic that can be interpreted in many ways. And you will see that our presenters are looking at access and looking at justice from a variety of perspectives. This reminds me of one of my favorite quotes by Helen Keller. She said, "Until the great mass of the people shall be filled with the sense of responsibility for each other's welfare, social justice can never be attained." So let's think about that shared sense of responsibility as we listen to today's speakers. I do want to remind our audience that our presenters are new to Second Life. All of them are new. So let's pay attention while they present and save our questions for the Q&A at the end. You can also click on the light blue sign to the left of the stage to get additional information about Virtual Ability. And also in that sign is a note card of slurls to poster sets that are over on Health Info Island. And those poster sets are about a variety of disability, justice, and other topics for the rest of October. So now let me invite Z to introduce our first guest presenter.
Greetings everyone, and welcome to Virtual Abilities Annual IDRAC Conference. I am Zvi Avian, and today I have been in SL for exactly 13 years. I enjoy exploring the various worlds and communities of Second Life. I also volunteer as an information assistant for the Virtual Worlds Education Consortium. In real life, I am an IT Quality Assurance Analyst from Penang, Malaysia. Today, I would like to introduce Hilary Sussman. She has been a physical therapist for 23 years and often works with children who lack self-confidence due to their disabilities. She also writes children's books to help children deal with bullying and feeling different. Her talk for today is titled Inclusive Children's Books, Promoting Self-Confidence, Acceptance, and Kindness. Having the knowledge on how to access justice is an important aspect of modern society. I do hope that through storytelling and books, we will be able to share this important knowledge with younger generations. Audience, please hold your questions and comments to the end so as not to interrupt the presentation's timing. Welcome, Hilary Sussman. The floor is yours.
Thank you, Z. Hello, everybody. Am I good, Alice? Can you hear me? My name is Hilary Sussman. I have been a physical therapist for the last 24 years, and I am a new children's book author. I started both of my books. This has been 1 year in totality that I started this new journey of becoming a children's author, and I was inspired by my physical therapy background, working with adults and children with disabilities, and also my love of dogs and my own dog, Roxy, having gone through a few surgeries and almost losing her own leg. Today I'm going to talk about how inclusive children's books can help children gain confidence through reading. So how can inclusive books help kids who are facing limb loss or other differences? Books can introduce sensitive topics in a very safe and familiar environment. They enable children to see themselves in characters which can help them improve their self-esteem. This plants a seed with all children about acceptance, whether they live with a difference or not. And inclusive books also promote limb loss or limb difference awareness, inclusion, kindness, and acceptance of differences with all children. I just wanted to add that only 3.4% of children's literature has disability representation. And I believe there's at least 19 million people with disabilities, something like that. So it is very important to create inclusive books for kids and adults to teach these important lessons early on of acceptance of differences. So inclusive books can open doors of communication with your child. They can help start a dialogue in a very non-threatening manner. I have activities on my website that are free, and all of those activities can reinforce the messages of books in a fun and educational way. Reading books with your children about inclusive books can help your kids gain insight into their feelings about having a difference. It gives you quality time with your children. It can ease their anxiety and fear about any upcoming medical procedures and recovery, and can teach children that they are not alone with their feelings. So I thought it would be nice to read to you both of my books, and I will just kind of make a few comments as we go along about how my books can be helpful to children. So my first book came out last June 2021, and it's called Roxy and Malibu, It's Okay to Be Different. Hi, my name is Roxy, but they call me Roxy Roo. I'd love to tell you a special story from my heart to you. This summer, I went to the scary place my mom calls it the vet. It certainly was a memorable day, one I will never forget. So in this slide, I talk to children about how Roxy looks sad, and if you have a pet, they really don't always love to go to the vet, or if you go to the doctor, sometimes you feel sad. So this creates empathy with the kids looking at Roxy and how she seems to be feeling. As I look back, I don't understand how everything came to be. I went to the vet with 4 legs, but came home with only 3. My mom says I'm no longer sick and now I'll be okay. But I don't understand how one of my legs simply went away. Where did it go? Where could it be? It's no longer in sight. I can walk on my 3 legs, but something doesn't feel right. So here we talk about the fact that she lost a leg, she feels uncomfortable, she can still function, but it's definitely new and scary. Since my trip to the scary place, I have not done a lot. Most of the time I lie on the couch in my favorite spot. I dream of the park where I meet my friends, where I'm able to roam free. My parents worry I'll get sick, I'll get hurt, so they stay at home with me. Here I talk to the children about, have you ever missed school because you were sick, because you had a boo-boo, and they all can empathize with Roxy wishing she was at the dog park. One day I heard my mom on the phone speaking to the vet. She told her it was safe for me to play outside, and this I'll never forget. So I'm here to share an adventure from one amazing day. Looking back, it changed my life, and for now, that's all I'll say. So Roxy is finally allowed to go to the park, and everyone gets very excited here. Soon I heard my favorite words, the ones I longed to hear. "Roxy, want to take a ride?" asked my mom so loud and clear. I got so excited hearing my favorite garage door sound. Were we driving to a store? No, to a park we were bound. So here we discuss the fact that Roxy is ready to rock and roll and go to the park. And everyone knows that she's very excited here. But then something happens at the park. On this unforgettable day, one I am so happy to share, I met my best friend Malibu and we became an inseparable pair. I first saw him in the distance, alone in the dirt by the fence. He was a mix of brown and white like me, but there was something wrong I could sense. So here we talk about the fact that Malibu looks sad, but we're not really sure why until we meet him. Malibu was different. He was old. He looked older with big green eyes. I was not sure what kind of dog he was, but he was about my size. But there's one thing I want to tell you. One could see from far and near, Malibu was not like other dogs because he was missing an ear. When I got the nerve to talk to him, there was something I had to say. I looked at him and began to speak. He did not look away. "Hello, hello, hello. My name is Roxy Roo. I'd like to be your friend and play. Does that sound fun to you?" So this is where I ask the kids, and this is very interesting. Raise your hand if you think Malibu wants to play with Roxy. And if you ask kindergartners and some of the first graders, they all unanimously think that Malibu wants to play with Roxy. But as I ask the older kids in my school programs, second, third, fourth, fifth grade, they share typically that Malibu might not want to play with Roxy because he's insecure, he feels bad about himself, and he's missing an ear. So it's interesting to see the difference in perspective as children get older and they gain a little bit more insight. Malibu looked up at me and then he put his head right down. At first I wondered why he was sad, and then I looked around. Dogs of all shapes and sizes were running and playing a game. Malibu was sitting alone in the dirt. I think he felt ashamed. And this is where we talk about, why do you think Malibu felt ashamed, and what does ashamed mean? And as the kids gets older, they do know what that means, even in kindergarten. And we talk about the fact that Malibu was sitting alone because he didn't feel good about himself. I wanted to be his friend and say, don't act like such a fool, that it's okay to be different because that's what makes us cool. I told Malibu about losing my leg and what I had been through. I shared with him my story and that I had been nervous too. This was my first day back at the park after not being allowed to run, but missing a leg wasn't going to stop me. I wanted to have some fun. So this is a great place for me to have the children answer, why did Roxy share her limb loss story with Malibu? And it was to help Malibu gain confidence because he was different as well. We both look different, and that is nothing to fear. One of us has 3 legs and the other has 1 ear. Malibu just stared up at me as I waited for his reply. He perked right up, shook his coat, and said, I think I'm ready to try. And can you guess what happened that day at the park? The other dogs joined us and we played and played till dark. We ran in the dirt and the grass, around and around the loop, all of us having so much fun together in a group. And this is where I say to the children, do you think the other dogs cared that Roxy was missing a leg and Malibu was missing an ear? And they all say no. And I say, why do you think that is? And we talk about the fact that they're just dogs and they can run around if they're missing an ear. They can run around if they're missing a leg. And all because you're different doesn't mean that you can't be everybody's friend. No one judged our differences, and that was my first hunch. Even with what made us unique, we still were part of the bunch. It's okay, it's okay, it's okay. Being different is not something bad. It's often what makes you special. It's not a reason to be sad. And then we talk about the lessons of the book. So how can this book help your child? Roxy goes to the vet. She loses her leg. This creates empathy for Roxy. You can talk about what is empathy. How does Roxy feel? Have you ever felt like Roxy? So just even this one page can create a really nice dialogue with your child about if they're living with a difference or not living with a difference, how one might feel. Roxy meets Malibu, which teaches kindness. Roxy sees a dog looking sad and chooses to befriend him. He could have ignored him. Roxy teaches the reader about inclusion. She shares her story of limb loss with Malibu in order to help him gain confidence to play with the other dogs. Roxy, helping Malibu, teaches kids to be kind to others and to put yourself in their shoes and to have empathy. So for each of my books, I have free printable activities that are on my website. So this is great for educators, parents, clinicians, because after reading my book, even teachers can continue to foster these lessons by giving their kids all of these activities. And there's coloring pages, there's word searches, different levels of activities, all inclusive for grades, figure ages 3 to 12. There's a book report, there's coloring pages, word matching, and the one that you see here is one of my favorite, and it's called What Makes You Awesome. So I do this activity with the kids during my programs on a big dry erase board, and they all raise their hand, and we talk about, why are you unique? I'm unique because I am fast. I am unique because I am kind, and it goes like that. So now I'm going to switch gears and talk about what happens in public. Now, as I stand here today, I do not have a disability, and I am just talking to you as an author, as a physical therapist, and as an advocate. And this is just what I have found after talking to different people. If you are a parent of a child with limb or any other difference, how can you handle public situations? This, I know, is definitely something that people are facing in the day-to-day world. It is your choice and not your responsibility to educate others about your disability or your child's disability. If you see another child staring and perhaps the other parent is saying, shh, don't stare, this might be a good opportunity to share you or your child's story with both of them and teach them that it's okay to ask and share. If you are not comfortable, then it is not necessary. And once again, it is your choice to educate and always an opportunity, not a responsibility. So when kids who live with differences enter a new environment, for instance, starting a new preschool, starting a new daycare, elementary school, it's difficult because they feel like they might not fit in. They might feel insecure. They might not have confidence. They might be afraid of being bullied. They might be scared to make new friends. They might be afraid of kids whispering at them or getting rejected. A lot of children were virtual for a few years and then haven't really been in a social situation since COVID, so they also might be feeling nervous even if they don't live with a difference. So that leads me to my second book, which I'm going to share with you now, called Roxy and Tully, Words Matter. I'm waiting for it to come up. Okay, go back. Here it is. Okay. Hi, my name is Roxy. My new school is about to begin. I am feeling very nervous and worried I won't fit in. My mom says, don't worry, wearing a prosthesis is okay. Tell that to all the others when they laugh and walk away. So I talked to the children here. Does anyone know what a prosthesis is? And some of them do know. And we talk about the fact that a prosthetic limb replaces a limb that has been removed for any various reason and helps someone function just like everybody else. So Roxy is nervous to go to a school, not only because it's a new school, but because she is visibly different. She has a visible difference. When the first day came, I hid inside my crate, but my parents made me get on the bus. Roxy, you'll be late. I acted brave, walking to class, my head held in the air, my snout held in the air. I saw some chickens stare and cluck. I tried hard not to care. This is where I talk about, have you ever felt like someone was whispering behind your back when you walk down the hallway? That's not a good feeling, is it? And some of them have not felt that, which makes me happy, but a lot of people have experienced that. That day in math, I answered correctly, what is 2 plus 2? I couldn't believe it when someone oinked, great job, Roxy Roo. I looked behind my desk to see who'd been so kind. It was a friendly pig dressed in purple. Her name was Clementine. And this is where I talk about what is a compliment. How nice is it that that pig said great job to Roxy? Clementine oinked, that bandana looks nice on you. I barked, my favorite color is pink, and she oinked back, me too. I think I skipped, oh here. Then she oinked, I like your leg, Roxy. It's really cool. Thanks, it's called a blade. I was afraid to wear it to school. And this is where I educate the children that there are different types of prosthetics, and the one that Roxy wears to school is called a blade, typically worn for active people, running in a race or kids going to school. Don't worry, Roxy, she oinked. Come eat lunch with us. I was so happy to make a friend after sitting alone on the bus. At lunch, I ate my bone as a frog was eating a fly, but then the room went silent and I couldn't believe my eyes. In walked a huge bull, looking tall, strong, and mean. He was the scariest bull my eyes have ever seen, and everybody knows that this is the bully. I barked in a very low voice, guys, who is that? Tully the bully, stay away from him, meowed an orange cat. As Tully walked towards our table, I felt very scared. He laughed at my blade, then stole my bone, and all the animals stared. I sat there in shock, wanting to run home to my crate, but a nice bird shared her seeds, putting some on my plate. And this is where I ask the kids, what behavior did the bird demonstrate? And most of them actually know that it was empathy. And we talk about what is empathy. I'm telling you, these kids are so smart these days. It's unbelievable. Of course, that day at recess, it was just as I had feared. That's a silly looking leg, I heard so loud and clear. I turned around and saw Tully. As I looked him in the eye, I kept thinking to myself, Roxy Roo, please don't cry. Right when I was about to bark, a funny thing came to be. My new friend Clementine tiptoed up and stood next to me. This made Tully angry, and he started to bellow out, hey, Clementine, you have a funny-looking snout. So now they are both being bullied. And this is where we talk about what behavior is Clementine demonstrating, and she is being an upstander. and we talk about what is an upstander, which is the same thing as bystander intervention. When someone witnesses someone being bullied and they go and do something about it instead of ignoring it. I looked over at Clementine. We've both felt hurt and scared. Then something started to happen. We both were not prepared. All the animals joined us. They flew, they walked, they hopped. After hearing Tully's words, they were ready for this to stop. I told Tully that there was no need to be mean, and the others agreed they were sick of what they'd seen. I told him his words hurt us, and then I started to see that he was feeling sad by the way he looked at me. Tully slowly looked down, and then I heard him moo. I didn't know how to make friends. Bullying was easier to do. I've never liked my horns, and I've always felt too tall. And I barked back, Tully, you don't have to feel ashamed at all. And then we talk about what did Tully realize? Ma, said the goat, I don't like having a beard. Then the snake hissed, I don't like being feared. Then the owl hooted, it's hard being the smartest one. Then the bird chirped, wearing glasses is not that fun. And this is where we talk about the fact that everyone has insecurities, but it does not permit you to treat others poorly. Tully finally understood that we all have felt this way. He learned that words can be hurtful and it matters what you say. We all agreed to forgive him and all could start again, that we could play together if he acted like a friend. So this is where we talk about what do you think Tully needs to do now in order to gain their friendship. And we go around and usually the kids say, be kind, be nice, stop bullying. And then finally someone says he needs to apologize. So this is where I ask the kids to raise their hand and each of them read one of Tully's apologies. And then we will decide together if we think that he did a good job. He said, sorry for teasing me and stealing the bone off my plate. He said sorry to the frog for making fun of the flies he ate. He said sorry to the snake for taking his lunch money. He said sorry for telling Clementine her snout looked funny. He said sorry to the cat for saying she wasn't good at sports. He said sorry to the mouse for teasing her that she is short. He said sorry to the turtle for teasing him for losing the race. He said sorry to the rest of us with sadness on his face. And then, of course, we all agree that Tully did do a good job apologizing. Tully finally understood that we all have felt this way. Oh, sorry, I messed up. After school, I told my parents what happened with the bully, the lesson he learned, and now guess what? I have a new friend, Tully. That night, I lay awake in my crate, happy as can be. I couldn't wait to get on the bus with Tully sitting next to me. So in this book, in Roxy's new adventure, Roxy is nervous to go to a new school and wear her prosthesis, and this is how I introduce prosthetics to children in a very introductory way. Kids can identify with feeling nervous and anxious starting a new school, especially living with a difference. When she walks in the hallway, many kids can identify this feeling. And the most important lesson is that Clementine demonstrates that one person, one kind word or act can change someone's life. And we talk about the power of words, that you have the power to either ruin someone's day or make someone's day, and the choice is yours, and we know what the choice should be. So what does Tully learn and what does the reader learn? Words matter, words are powerful, and it's not okay to hurt others. Tully admits he's insecure and never felt good about himself, and it was easier to be a bully, and we all talk about the fact that everyone is insecure, that none of us are perfect, but it doesn't give you the right to be a bully. In this book, I also have educational activities, about 6 or 7 of them, and this is one of the ones that I love because it's Design Roxy's prosthesis, and it's a great way for kids to teach their parents even what a prosthetic is. And this is Katie Jessup Ellis. She is a triathlete, she's an amputee, and she says, diversity comes in all shapes, sizes, level of ability, and levels of acceptance. It is not a one-size-fits-all. Living with a disability is something we can all relate to. It's about having your biggest insecurity on display all day, every day. And when I spoke with a child, a parent of a child with a limb loss. His name was Bowden. He lost both of his legs at 3 years old from sepsis. She says, I think my number one advice would be not to hold him back and don't helicopter. My son is capable of doing so many things on his own without our help, and sometimes we jump in to take over and he gets upset even if he doesn't. It's just us getting in his way when we don't have to be. So the point is, children are extremely resilient, extremely resilient, and I see children who are 3 years old walking beautifully in their prosthetic legs, and they just adapt, and parents need to just let them be themselves and try not to hover too much, as hard as that might be. So from both of my books, I would say the takeaway lessons are that it's okay to be different. Different is awesome. Be yourself. Have empathy. Words are powerful. You have the power to make or break someone's day with your words. Be an upstander, not a bystander, and to be kind and inclusive. So on these cards that I'm showing you on the last slide, it's okay to, this is what I hand out in my 3 to 5th grade kids. And the things that they write just blow me away. I don't know if you can see. It's okay to be different. It's okay to make mistakes. It's okay to be sad. It's okay to have different skin. It's okay to have 3 parents. I go through the cards and we really have the opportunity to talk about how everything is really okay and we should accept everybody for who they are because everybody is unique. And we talk about the fact that wouldn't it be really boring if everyone had the same color skin and the same clothes and the same eyes and the same hair and they all agree. So I encourage you to use inclusive books, whether you have kids or grandkids or in your local schools and libraries, because I really do think that they promote kindness and inclusion. And that's it. And if anyone has any questions, I would love to take any questions.
Henry, this is Jenna. That was wonderful. I do have a question.
Okay.
I know that your books are often used for bibliotherapy. You might want to actually define that for the audience. Have you noticed a difference between kids' reactions to Roxy and her friends, between those kids who read the books on their own and those who participate in a reading group discussion?
Are you asking if I know how kids react reading the books on their own?
Yes.
If it's different?
Yes.
I don't know. I mean, I don't know I'm not sure how I would get insight into that. I mean, unless you're in the level of reading, obviously depends on the child, right? Because I also work with a lot of children with learning disabilities. So you can't really say 3rd grade, level, but I think that kids Someone told me that their child read the book and they felt much more comfortable going to the dentist because she said, I want to be brave like Roxy. So that was like a really exciting excerpt that someone shared with me. It made me feel like Roxy helped their child, you know? So those are the kinds of things I hear, but I'm not sure how else to answer that, if that's okay.
Thank you. I think Draxter has a question next.
Yeah, thank you for the presentation. Really wonderful presentation. I don't know if this is a question, but maybe just a comment. My son went to school in California, and what I always found really problematic is that zero tolerance policy about bullying. And we all know that bullying is, I mean, it's a complex subject matter, and bullies are often come from violent family situations, domestic situations. So what I really liked about your book is that there is a reconciliation with the bully, where the bully gets the opportunity to say that his action is because of his own emotional state. So that was really well done. But I wonder if you know, if that was hard for you, if that was kind of a hard part of the story, you know, how to put that in there.
Yeah, I actually, believe it or not, I skipped the slide, so I didn't show you the slide where they all forgave him and they all high-fived each other, but it's okay. Yeah, I wanted to be careful with the idea of forgiveness because that's like tough because I don't know how everyone feels about that, but what I have found in my school programs, which I really was happy about, the elementary schools these days, they all seem to have an acronym, like for instance, SOAR, SOAR, and each word letter represents an action, accountability, blah, 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 right? So in one of my school programs, they said, what action did Tully do that goes with our principles? And one of the kids raised his hands and he said he owned his actions. And I just love that because that was the accountability in their acronym. And it made me feel so good that like kids could recognize that if you own your actions and you say, you know what, I was wrong, this is why, and they can give people a second chance. And we do talk about second chances. But, I agree with you. It's kind of a touchy subject,
Yeah, but that's why it's so important to, like you did this as a conversation starter. I mean, this is quite brilliant that you avoid the forgiveness subject. I mean, that could then come up in discussion where you have more time to go into detail. And often when I look at children's books, they are a little bit, I don't know how to put that, but they're very definitive about these things that kind of closes the discussion before it even begins. And so, good job. I mean,
Thank you.
I liked it.
Hillary Mook made a comment. She said, I've always disagreed strongly with this common saying, sticks and stones may break my bones, but words shall never hurt me.
Oh, yeah.
Also,
You're right.
unbelievably ironic that this is an old English children's rhyme usually employed in the playground.
It is. I know I read that on here and I was like, you know what? That is insane. That is the opposite of what is true. Like words are so powerful. And this is like when I say to my kids, this is what I do with the 3rd to 5th graders, because I read the second book. I say, raise your hand if anyone has ever been mean to you. And I would say 3/4 of them raise their hand. Some of them don't. I'm like, oh, good. And then I say, raise your hand if you've ever said anything not nice to someone. Be honest. We've all done it. And then I said, raise your hand if it hurt your feelings. And I said, I want you to look around and remember this moment. Why would you ever choose to say something that hurts someone if you know how it feels? And I said, you have the power to make someone go home and cry or someone be so happy. I said, and I tell them, you have homework today. Everyone has to give a compliment before they get on the bus. And you don't realize how compliments can change someone's life. I don't want to be morbid about it, so I flip it right away to compliments and be like, on the other hand, look what your words can do. And I think you're right. Words are extremely powerful. I think words are worse than physical sometimes, They hurt because they hurt physically, words.
They do. iSky has a comment as well. She says that some bullies don't have the emotional maturity or have been shown good role models to help them express their feelings and deal with their insecurities in a healthy way. Sorry, she said have not.
Yeah,
They don't have good role models.
right. Obviously, every bully doesn't have this, emotional intelligence that Tully does, insight, but it's just a way to, maybe one person in the world reads this book who might be a bully. It's funny, I don't see many bullies in K-5 schools that I'm in because they're so on top of everything. You know what I mean? I don't feel like, at least in the schools I've been in, there's like a bully, because it's amazing what goes on in these schools. But obviously there's social media. And then as they get to middle school and high school, all bets are off, right?
Yep.
Yeah. Yeah.
And the interesting thing, sorry to jump in here, because we're in Germany now, where I'm from originally. I grew up with the Strubelpeter. I don't know if anybody knows this here. Don't put it in the local chat, but that's this famous children's book from 1845, where there is a thumb-sucking child, and the mother goes away, and then a guy comes with scissors and cuts off the thumbs. Well, that was 150 years ago, 200 years ago almost. But the interesting thing, the comparison between California and Germany, is that in Germany, it seems to me the bullying strategy in schools is, and I'm painting with a very broad brush, is very much, well, you got to toughen up because life is hard, essentially, and it's really frustrating, to be honest.
That's tough. Yeah, that is tough. And social media creates an entire, I could never have grown up with social media personally, because kids, they can look at their phones. I don't know if you know what Snapchat is. They can look at their phones and they can see where every single one of their friends are at all times. So let's say someone is not invited somewhere, they can see that everyone else is there. There's no hiding, it's tough. It can be very tough.
Yeah, and Slayton said terrific book. And Slayton put a link to a Wikipedia article about the book too, which is awesome.
Oh, I just did. Oh.
What's
you
that?
mean a Strubelpeter or your book? Oh God, yeah. I mean, it's a historic. I mean, this is something that is obviously completely debunked, but it's fascinating how this did influence child rearing at the time and beyond that. So, I mean, it's all about shaming. Anyway, let's talk about good children's books, I guess.
Yeah.
It's a cultural artifact, that thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, Gentle says, scary kid's book. He has scissors on his arms instead of hands. Yeah. And LV said, that book gave me nightmares, Drax. And Ice Guy says, likely the inspiration for the film Edward Scissorhands.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. And Gentle asked a question. Hillary, please respond to this quote from Alexander Den Heijer. I hope I pronounced that right. When a flower doesn't bloom, you fix the environment in which it grows, not the flower.
Oh, I like that. That's amazing. When a flower doesn't bloom, you fix the environment, well, that goes back to the nature versus nurture argument, correct? Like, oh my God, I knew this was going to happen with my dogs. I'm so sorry. I think, in this day and age, you have to use the support around your kids. You have to use, there are so many resources for kids in schools, and the guidance counselors are so involved, and I believe that. I agree that it's both the intrinsic nature of a child to either succeed, but you also need to use support in order to help your child succeed, whatever that means. I actually had that for my son in college. He had a very tough first semester. He was all the way in Colorado. I had to go, he was going to transfer, and I had to go on the Facebook page, because there's always like a parent, if your child goes to college, there's usually a parent Facebook group where you can reach out to other parents. And I actually utilized that to get phone numbers of other boys to connect him, right? So we do what we can to help our kids succeed. And if it means altering their environment to help them, that flower bloom, that's the way I look at it. So is that Does that answer that question?
Yes. Can I ask one more? What is Roxy doing next? Can you give us a preview?
Yes, I wrote, the third book is pretty much finished, but I self-published these two books, so I'm hoping that the third one maybe can get like published by a publishing company. So I have a literary agent now who hopefully, you know, in a perfect world, it'll get picked up. But in the third book is about her going to, well, at first she doesn't think she's invited to a birthday party, because I honestly think birthday party is a universal theme and issue for kids. Am I getting invited? Everyone's being invited, right? And then she doesn't get invited, but then last minute they realize it went to the neighbor's house, but she gets invited, but then we find out that it's a swimming party. And then the whole book is about her gaining the confidence because she doesn't want to go in the pool because she doesn't want to take off her leg in front of everyone. She doesn't think she can swim because amputees typically, am I going to sink? Am I going to go in circles? You know, so her anxiety about that, and then she overcomes her own fear by saving an animal that falls in. So the next book is going to continue to teach a lesson, but this one is about like a lesson to herself to overcome her own fear of something. So my plan is to keep going with different books, introducing different, I would like in the next book to introduce a different disabled community, so to speak. Like I almost was thinking of having the animal have a hearing impairment, but it got a little complicated. But I'd like to talk about an invisible difference next time, one that you can't see, such as hearing loss or visual impairment, because I think that that's important to bring those communities in as well.
Yeah, it's interesting just going back. We've had a few comments about the real life Roxy barking in the background.
Sorry.
No, that's okay, Hillary. That's life. But people are loving it. They're saying that maybe she has something to add and that they appreciate the real life Roxy.
Well, we have actually, I have a puppy also. So the puppies, once one of them starts, they both start barking. So I was like, please, I closed the blinds because there's always a dog that walks by and they end up barking. So I'm like, please don't bark, girls. Give me an hour.
I hear you, Hillary. Same here. Stella made a comment to Drax about the scary book that he mentioned. She said, I think it's interesting that children during their socialization may have been influenced by that scary book, Drax. Today it seems or sounds like socialization is better or kinder or more inclusive.
Yeah, and can I respond to this real quick, Stella? Thank you. Stella is a part of our book club community. Good to see you. Let me just say that I actually wanted to say this early because Hillary said that too. Yeah, 1845, you know, there was it was not a great time for children. There was child labor, etc. But today with social media, I don't think adults can fathom how incredibly destructive social media is. We got a little glimpse. We had an author on, Sarah Littman, who writes about young adults and technology, and you know, she looks kind of at the reality there. And there are cases, I don't want to you know, occupy this conversation, but we all know that within the big social media companies, Facebook and Twitter, etc., there have been studies where these companies commissioned the studies themselves, and the studies found out that teenagers who may have a depressive streak, they get more depressed. Yeah. On Instagram, you have a phenomenon where people, this is an extreme case, they have plastic surgery to look like people with filters on and stuff like that. So this is such a influential factor that we don't even know the toxic long-term implications. And I'm talking about young people, right? So I'm 52. It doesn't affect me if somebody. Actually, I do. Sometimes even if it affects me if somebody says on Twitter, "Hey, your latest movie sucks." I get kind of pissed off a little bit. But I'm not 14, and I don't have an eating disorder, right? Or I don't have a disability.
Yeah. The filter thing really bothers me. And it bothers me that people feel the need to fix every single picture. And what are you worried about? You're so worried about what other people think, what they think you're going to have a wrinkle or your scar is going to show, or think about what that says about our society and what's important. And no wonder kids are feeling, one of the girls, my daughter is in 11th grade in high school. In 9th grade, one of her friends shot herself. And she unlocked her dad's, somehow she got his gun out of the safe and she left notes. She had clinical depression, but if you saw her, you wouldn't think anything of it. She was on volleyball, she had friends, she was adorable. We went to the funeral, we went to the wake, and that has never left me because, there's Roxy again. How do you know what's really going on underneath? And there's so much pressure these kids have. And I think social media has a lot to do with it.
Yep. Absolutely. And in during puberty, it's hard to begin with to kind of, become or be in peace with who you are. And then this is on top of it. So I think that's something that my generation and older, like my dad, I love him, but I think those folks are really oblivious to the extent of the damage that is done here. And I don't have the solution. I mean, there has to be more oversight and all that kind of stuff. But I don't know. The cat is out of the bag, as they say.
Yeah. Well, I didn't mean to turn this conversation to a warm and fuzzy.
Let's talk about Roxy. Yes.
Do you know what I just did? I just
Talk
gave
about
Roxy peanut butter in a bone because hopefully she'll be quiet for the next 10 minutes. So there we go.
Well, just changing the subject then, Gentle asked a question. She said, I was going to ask about your publishing experience. Did it help for you to start as a self-publisher? And how did you find an agent?
My agent is my uncle, so I don't think I would have an agent right now if I didn't have my uncle. And my mother, she's gone. She's been gone almost 18 years. She was an author. She was a lecturer, and he was her agent. So it's interesting because my mom gave school programs just like I am. So I'm kind of following in her footsteps, which is just, sometimes I feel like I am her when I'm giving my programs. But I self-published because there's no way I was going to send this little book about a dog missing a leg to like an agency and they were going to pick it up. So I did self-publishing. And it's very difficult with self-publishing because a lot of the companies are fake. Like I actually gave money to a company that was not a company. Thank God I canceled the credit card, but it wasn't even a real publishing company. So it's hard to know who to trust. But I found this Palmetto Publishing in Charleston and they were good. So I used them twice because I liked it was very easy. They do everything, but you have to pay and it's expensive. So that's why with my third book, I'm hoping I actually get published. You know what I mean? Because I can't afford to do another book on my own with like pay for another book to be published. But you can do a free book on KDP Amazon. You can do the whole process for free, at least for an ebook, I think. So that's one way if you're interested in doing that kind of thing, you can look into that. So that's that.
About your next book, somebody suggested, Idigo suggested that chronic fatigue syndrome would be a good.
Ooh, that's a good one.
Yeah. Because also long COVID, some of these symptoms are very similar. I mean, I think that would be interesting because people still, a lot of people deny the existence of long COVID or with chronic fatigue and these kind of things. I mean, you run into people every day who say, well, they're just making it up, get up and take a cold shower, go for a run. Come on. That kind of thing.
It's hard
to write it down, Hillary, and wire me 20%. 20. I take 20% as a very reasonable.
Everyone's like, can you do? I have people say, can you do TARS? Like I would. It's kind of. It's not like I'm rolling out 100 books a year. So I'll be lucky to do another book soon. It would be my pleasure. Yeah, and I have my book right now in 32 clinics. So another route that I've been doing is prosthetic and orthotic clinics and children's hospitals are using the books as a resource in their clinic. So the coloring pages in their waiting room and the books in their waiting room, and to like open a dialogue with kids, like a new pediatric client who's missing a limb, about this new experience. So that's like another direction I'm in. Been interesting.
We've had a lot of comments. It looks like the conversation about social media was really impactful. Stella says that social media is an anti-socialization tool, but a control is an anti-socialization tool, but a control tool, an anti-inclusive tool that leverages power and can be used to eliminate difference. Would you say?
Wow. Yeah, I agree. 100%. And someone wrote about St. Jude's, and thank you for writing that, Shiloh, because that was on my list to call. It took me, I don't know where everyone is. Everyone's all over the world, right? From here? Is everyone all over the world?
Yes, I am certainly myself all over the world from
Okay.
just me alone.
I just mean, I'm in Philadelphia, so it took me 5 months to finally get into Children's Hospital of Philadelphia. They just ordered 50 stuffed dogs. I have a 3-legged dog stuffed animal. I don't know if I mentioned that. That's part of my package. And I think it's important because it's a representation matters, and what child would not want a cuddly 3-legged dog, right? So
Yes.
Hospitals seem to be pretty tough, but I will contact St. Jude's. So thank you so much for that suggestion. That's on my list. I appreciate that, Shiloh. Oh, everyone's from the Netherlands. This is so cool. Dragster. This is so fun. Actually, my first plush ones were from Ukraine, a woman on Etsy. I don't know if you know what that is. You can order anything handmade. A little old lady in Ukraine hand stitched my first Roxy and Malibu, and those are the ones I use in my school programs because they're really big, and there's one missing an ear, one missing a leg, and I talk to the kids like, do you notice anything different about Roxy? Do you notice anything about Malibu? And we talk about differences and that kind of stuff. So the stuffed animals are a great resource. So I think we're out of time though.
This is an amazingly wonderful presentation. I really appreciate your sharing this with us. I hope you will come back and share your next book with us when you've got that one ready.
I will, and please be in touch, everyone. If you go on my website, there's a contact. Everyone's so nice, so just say hi.
Hillary, would you type your website URL into the local chat? Would you mind doing that?
I just put it in chat? Okay, let's see if I can do that.
Should
be able to do that. Chat. Oh, here we go. www. Oh, here it is. Okay. And you guys can print out these free activities for anyone, and that's what I love about it. Why is it not working with chat? Converse with everyone. Can you do it for me, Alice? I don't know why it's not working.
Do you see nearby chat? And there's a little white line that says to nearby chat.
Oh, here it is. Okay. Nearby chat. I'm trying to click in the box and it doesn't let me.
Oh, there should be a little.
Oh, there it is. Thank you. Whoever just did that. Thanks, Electra.
Electra and Orange was posted.
Thanks,
Second Life is a lot harder than social media, but it's less toxic. Actually, that lies in the eye of the beholder, I guess.
Yeah,
She's worked with me a lot. I appreciate it. You've been very patient with me.
When did you join Second Life? It used to be pretty toxic.
Just jumping in.
Yeah.
That's a great comment, Drax. I'll say that Second Life is, yes, it's way harder than social media, but boy, it's a lot more productive and a lot more fun.
Being with actual people in a room and learning about things is always more fun than staring at a website with little pictures.
That's true.
Okay. That's
we're
true.
gonna let Hillary go back to her dogs. She's needs to pay attention to them too.
They made it. The peanut butter did the trick for the last 10 minutes. Woo!
Fantastic. Rex?
Thank you,
And-
everyone. It was really nice to meet everybody. It was really fun.
I hope to see you again soon, Hillary.
Hey, bye, guys.